r/AskReddit. What is the most pathetic thing you've seen someone do for attention? I knew a woman who, as a college student, went to Australia for a semester. She came back with the accent and kept it. When I knew her, this had been going on for more than 5 years. She was from North Carolina. I saw an overweight college girl ride a mechanical bull at a bar wearing a really short skirt and no underwear. When she fell off, she took a long time getting up, using every opportunity she could to roll around with her legs above her head / bend way over. The entire bar ground to a halt and watched this girl drunkenly fooling around trying to stand up while exposing herself as much as possible. When she finally got up, she looked around and realized that everyone in the bar had the same shocked / traumatized expression on their face, and she burst into tears and ran and hid in the bathroom. She had probably been planning that all week. On sister's wedding day, our aunt put herself into diabetic shock on purpose. Ambulance came. She could have died. Sister had to administer to her until an ambulance showed up. Sister is a nurse. All because people were paying attention to the bride instead of her. When I was in high school, there was a pretty bad bus accident when a bus driver fell asleep at the wheel and a lot of people were hurt, some very badly. One girl was in a coma and sustained brain damage. Another walks permanently with a limp and has facial scarring. One guy had the bones in 2 of his fingers crushed, and now the mobility in his hand is permanently affected. I went to a really small high school, and it was a pretty big deal. It was a national news story for a few days too. If you're curious, pretty much everyone on the bus that crashed sued anyone who was remotely associated with the accident, from the owner of the bus company to the teachers who were on the bus with the students, and some people got quite a bit of money. Anyway, there was one girl who claimed all sorts of damage from the accident. She came back to school wearing a brace on her leg and her arm, would cry if anyone mentioned the accident, and made up terrific stories about the crash itself and the nightmares she was having, and would just go on and on in a really ridiculous way about the accident. Come to find out, she wasn't even on the bus that crashed. She was on another bus. In the scramble / craziness after the accident, she went to the accident and pretended to have been on the bus and made up all of her injuries. Fake getting pregnant and then having miscarriages / abortions. In college, I was walking to class one day and there's this frat bro going the same direction in front of me. Coming the opposite way is a very attractive woman in business attire. She was a bit older than the average college student, maybe late 20s, early 30s, and about a billion times classier than frat bro. Frat bro stops the lady and starts trying to chat her up, asking for her number right off the bat. He's hitting on her like she's a freshman and not understanding why he's making no progress whatsoever. After a brief exchange and a polite dismissal from the lady, she continues on her way, leaving frat bro dejected. Then I see the wheels start turning in his head. He's standing there with his hand on his chin, pondering how this woman could possibly have not been seduced by his charm, and suddenly his eyes light up, as though he's had the most brilliant flash of insight in his entire life. He removes his shirt, shouts "Hey," and when the lady turns around, flexes with all his might. She rolls her eyes and resumes walking away. I absolutely lost it at this pathetic display. I got a smile and a wink from the woman as she walked past me, almost crying from laughing so hard. I've never seen such an absolutely pathetic expression on a person's face as that guy afterward. My teacher was reading passages from books, and one of them was about a girl who was adopted, and this one girl, Rebecca, ran out of the room crying. Later that day, she made the teacher apologize for talking about adopted kids, because she was adopted. Get that attention. There's so many of these stories from my high school. One of my teachers was a very well respected historian, and he was teaching a class about civil rights, and he said, "I'm going to say the N-word, but not out of disrespect. You just need to understand the exact examples I'm giving, okay?" Then when he said that the signs would say "keep N-words out of our schools," a group of 2 to 3 black girls stood up and ran out screaming, "Oh hell no, he didn't, that racist ass white boy, ECT." They tried getting him in trouble with the administration, but they were like, no. He's teaching you about civil rights. This girl in high school I was kinda friends with liked this guy in her math class. To get his attention, she fell out of her desk in the middle of class. Then she did it the next day, and the next day. That was her plan, to get him to ask her to prom. It didn't work. My girlfriend's sister, we'll call her Carrie for sake of these stories, is the queen of doing unnecessary pathetic things to get attention. She overdramatizes everything and does whatever she can to bring the attention to her. When there's nothing to overdramatize, she just makes shit up. About herself, about her family, about her friends, about whoever or whatever. Just blatantly lies for attention. My favorite example, a guy Carrie barely knew in college and who's several years older than her but ran in a similar social circle, unexpectedly committed suicide after a fight with his then girlfriend one night. It was a really sad event on campus. He was a really great guy that was widely known and widely liked. However, he was diagnosed mentally ill, depression, and schizophrenia, was off his meds for some reason, and was drinking heavily, with disastrous results. All of a sudden, Carrie is hyper depressed and telling everyone that will listen that she was having a secret romantic relationship with him, that they were in love, that he was planning on leaving his girlfriend for her, and that they were planning on eloping together. She started telling everyone about how much she missed him, how she couldn't stand to be alone, etc etc. His girlfriend caught wind and confronted Carrie about it publicly. Carrie started to back off, saying, "Okay, maybe I overstated how involved we were. I made the stuff up about eloping, but we definitely were hooking up, and he told me he loved me." When pressed further, she started to ramp down her story more and more. "Okay, we only hooked up once, but he said he really liked it and wanted to do it again. Then okay, we never hooked up, but we spent a lot of time together privately and I really cared about him. It finally came down to, okay fine, I only met him once at a party and we barely talked, but I liked him and wish I could have spent more time with him. Are you happy? Why do you have to be so mean? I was just trying to feel like I fit in. Who cares if I made a few things up about him? It made me feel like I was a part of his life." So she was spreading lies about this kid who had just died, and even after she was called out on her bullshit, she still needed to make it about her and how everyone is so mean to her and how she didn't deserve to be treated like that, etc. Just one of many such examples. I was talking to a girl at a bar who I honestly was not remotely interested in, and this douche who I don't even know walks up and says, "Hey, what's up? Oh dude, am I cock blocking you?" Worst one I've got is an old friend who lied about being in the parachute regiment, British Army. He spouted his usual, yeah, we parachuted into X and Y with GPMGs and that yada yada. No tactical drops have been executed in years. I just let him roll with it. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him on principle that he was an ass. Anyway, we end up going out one night and a couple of my friends who happened to be paras and went into the regiment roughly the time he said he did come drinking with us. Anyway, sparking up some conversation, the two were in on this about army days. He starts chucking it in yeah, was this and that, and then the two guys stop deadpan and go, "So, you said you jumped in Nation X. First bat never jumped there." This being said, as they both rolled up their right sleeve and there, proudly displayed was the para logo with first underneath. I've never seen someone retract into his chair so quickly. After we left the bar, he decided to go home as he wasn't feeling well. Always funny to remind him of that when his ego gets a tad too big. Freshman year, so this totally should have worked. This very cute girl, who had plenty of guys flirting with her, randomly starts talking about her nipple piercings. The conversation hadn't been about tattoos or piercings. No one says anything. She starts kind of cradling her breasts and tells everyone that she's got charms on the piercings. No one says anything. She asks us if we want to see them. No one says anything. Spent the next few minutes looking really sad, still cradling her titty. I almost took pity on her, but if the guys didn't want to see, and I actually didn't want to see, why bother? A girl my friend knows pretended to have cancer for 6 months, convinced everyone, got sympathy from everyone, got her friends to drive her to the hospital, shaved her head. The whole thing fell apart when someone phoned her mum to ask how her treatment was going. The mum had no idea what they were talking about. She even had get well pages set up on Facebook. Pretty ducked up, bro. This is my biggest pet peeve, so where do I begin? A guy I was friendly with in high school boasted constantly about being a published author. Having read his work myself, he would constantly shove it under the nose of anyone he was around. A red flag of a terrible artist. I knew that no publishing house in their right mind would ever put their money behind that shit. Turns out he just paid a huge sum of money to some guy on the internet to print out 300 of his books, which sat in boxes in his room. Also, he had the worst BO of anyone I have ever encountered ever. In college I came across another repeat attention whore offender in the form of a really hot girl that ran with our group. Being really hot her whole life, he simply assumed that the attention was to be focused on her at all times. She also drank heavily, shocking, and whenever she was drunk, always, she would literally scream over other people who were talking, pull girls out of guys' laps so she could sit there, take out her boobs when no one was looking at her, and cry for hours over injuries scraping her knee on the carpet, for example. She left school and I couldn't be happier. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.